Check, check.
It's good to see y'all here tonight. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for all that you have for us and all you provide. And Lord, we just pray for the service tonight, that it'll bring you honor and glory. Continue to be with those we promised to pray for. Lord, we just pray for your hand of healing and comfort upon them in a special way. Forgive us of our sins. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Brother Dennis, you put this back under here? No, Brother Dennis. Don't forget some of the things that's in our bulletins. Camp Hosanna's coming up. I believe we still have a few things that have needs. There's a list out in the foyer for the food that we need for the camp. The Fifth Sunday singing is coming up June the 30th. Be in prayer for that. We're having a theme, anything out of the garden type recipes. There's the wedding of Darcy and Hayden, June the 29th at 1 o'clock, so y'all invited to that. We're getting ready. We're also getting excited for Vacation Bible School. If you'd like to help decorate, you see Miss Ray Lynn. Vacation Bible School is when is that, Miss Ray Lynn?
Oh, VBS is July 7th through the 12th.
Okay.
I plan to decorate the whole week before, so like the 1st through the 6th.
1st through the 6th. All right. So,
Yes. Well, the undecorating actually surprisingly goes a lot faster than the decorating. It comes down in about an hour or two, and it goes up in a week.
yeah.
So,
All right. Any other announcements that needs to be brought to our attention?
we still have positions, or I'll just get it. We still have positions that need to be filled for VBS. So if I circle around and hit some of you guys up,
We still. Yeah.
I've got a couple positions, teaching positions I still need people for.
We still have positions for Camp Hosanna.
Right now, looks good.
Everything's looking good on positions. All right. We are going to have our mission team report here in a little bit, but we're going to have a song first, and then we'll get into our report. So. So on our mission trip to Winchester, Kentucky. We were going to be working on children's homes. There was supposed to be 2 of them, and we were supposed to be going in and help hanging sheetrock. But due to the fact that they had to pour concrete, and they had to also put all the slates in to form the concrete, that set them behind. And so by the time we got there, we only had 1 to work on, actually. And they were so far behind, they was actually having to set studs and put the decking in. So it created a time of being flexible for us. And that's what we had to run into. But we're going to let them come up and start telling us some stuff so let's have all of our emission team come up. Line up across the stage there. Miss Pam is not here. She's on a beta trip, and so is Miss Deborah. Deborah. She's on a mission, not a mission, beta trip. So, hand y'all the mic, and y'all start just telling us what you want us to know. You want to start?
Every year since I've been going on the mission trip, this will be my 4th year. It's like they talked me into it the first year. It's so fun, and I'm like, I couldn't wrap my head around going somewhere and paying them for me to work for them. And I'm like, this is crazy, you know. But I got down there, we went to Indiana that year, and it was awesome. We were only there a couple days and had to come back for COVID. And then the next year we were in Texas, and you know, I was like, I don't know if I want to go, but I went, and that was probably the most amazing year for me so far. Last year, we were going through some stuff, and I'd made my mind up I wasn't going. Like, stuff's come up in my life, I ain't going. And last minute, sitting right there, Pam was asking for help because she needed van drivers, and I felt convicted. God convicted me, and I'm like, all right, I'll go. Last minute, and I'm glad I did. I mean, I got something out of it, and then this year, once again, I'm like, man, I don't want to go. I got to come up with an excuse not to go, and everything, and I just couldn't find a good excuse. So I was like, I guess I'll go. And we get down there a couple days, and I'm like, I know I'm here for a reason. God sent me here for something. I don't know what it is yet. I haven't figured it out. And honestly, I didn't figure it out really until the last day. And there was a kid that sought me out. He talked to somebody and found out I was a veteran, and he wanted to talk to me about that. And he just came by my room, and I was reading my Bible, and he come in, and he said, hey, I haven't met you yet. And I introduced myself, and he's like, oh, I've been looking for you. So I got to talking to him. He was telling me about how he wanted to go into the Navy and be a Navy SEAL, but he wanted to be a chaplain. And I mean, this kid's 16 years old, and I mean, he was pretty mature for a 16-year-old, in my opinion. And then the more I got to talking to him, he started talking about his life, stuff he'd been through, his testimony, and he was a good kid, and he had a powerful testimony. And I think that I was there for him. They all done other things other than what us adult men did. But I believe I was there for him because I was there for him to talk to and open up to be able to tell his testimony that he's never told anybody before. And he told me at the end that it was awesome because they normally come on week 5, but they came our week this year. And he said that our church felt like family already, and he'd only known us for 5 weeks. And he said, I love, 5 weeks? 5 days. But he said, our group here is just like one big family, and he could trust us, not to judge him, and not to anything. He felt comfortable talking to all of us in our big group, and we had a pretty big group that last night. during our devotion time. And I feel like that's why I went this year, to help that kid be able to open up and be someone that he was comfortable with starting that testimony, to be able to share it with everybody else. So if anybody ever has any ambition to go on the mission trip and you have doubts, you won't when you get back. I promise.
Let me just interject right here for a second. Every night we would have devotion night, and we trained ours before we left to give their testimony, help them to write their testimony, and they all had an opportunity to give their testimony each night, which created interest in the Jacob's Well group that BJ was referring to. There were 4 teenagers from their group. And they were just like in awe that our teenagers were doing this, and it sparked interest. And this is what brought up this young man. He wanted to bring his testimony, which one of the youth workers that was with them, he's like, "This is awesome! I can't believe your teenagers are doing this. Your teenagers are awesome." And he said, "Can I bring my testimony?" It's like, sure. So it was just like every night we had an opportunity. Anybody who wanted to could bring their testimony, and we would like have 3 devotions or 3 testimonies a night. It was just awesome. So.
Okay, so my experience is I did back out. I told Pam I'm just going to stay behind. I'm going to stay behind with Emma and Gunnar and my kids, and I'll have less anxiety about leaving them behind. And I honestly gave Canyon and Gavin the opportunity to stay behind to focus on basketball. And I was conflicted about it. I didn't know if that was the right thing or not. And, you know, they say if you're focusing on your kids being in sports and not furthering the relationship with God, you're missing the mark. And I really felt like after I got there and looked around and watched everything unfold, I missed the mark as a mom. I should have made them go. So we should have just said, sorry, coaches, they're going. Gavin's already said he wished he had went. But so we get there, and we found out that we really couldn't do anything at the job site. They entrusted Sonny and the kids and me and Pam to clean up the camp that we were staying at. It was a camp that hadn't been used in 2 years. So a bunch of us women, me and Pam and the girls, we did a bunch of house cleaning, which was fine, in that big house that we were staying in. And then Sonny and the youth, and they, got weed eaters, lawnmowers, and they really did a lot of work on the outside. Same with Jacob's Well and Jordan, their leader. They jumped in and helped, and the camp looked great when we left. But we get there, and so the day goes by, and it's good to do good things, and the devotions were good. I was watching some of our youth really grow and deepen their faith, but I couldn't figure out why we were there yet. I was just thinking, okay, it'll reveal itself to us. And we had a youth tag along with our group that happened to be, a great nephew to a lady that works in the kitchen with the Mississippi Nailbenders. And I won't say his name, but he's a little bit troubled. He has a troubled background, and I guess he hung out with our group last year, and BJ had already warned me. He was like, he's rowdy. So he was with our group, and I would look at him, and I seen good. I could see his heart. I could see him tagging along with the girls and showing out. He just really wanted to just be accepted and loved. And but it came down to a situation where we had to make him leave. Said, you can't stay here with us anymore. Well, then he showed up the next day, and he was like, please let me come back. I promise I'll be good. I'll behave. And Pam and BJ were in the house at that time. When that happened, I happened to be in the shower house. But BJ said, yeah, he came. He stopped by, and Pam was trying to take a nap. But that didn't happen. So if you've ever been on a mission trip, it's exhausting. It's a blessing, but it's exhausting all in one. But we got together. They said that all the adults needed to get together and discuss it. And we were discussing it. And I said, hey, guys, I haven't figured out why we've come here. I don't know why the Lord has brought us here. I said, what if it's for him? And now us as Christians are turning him away. Every time he's bad, people turn their backs on him. I was like, what if What if he's meant to come back to our group? And what if there's a blessing in it, letting him come back? I said, that's just my 2 cents. I think we should let him come back. So we did. We all agreed. He came back, and he was great. He was great. It actually mended a situation that had happened in the beginning, and it was mended by the end, and that was wonderful. So every night we did devotions, and in the morning they did devotions, and every night we did testimonies and devotions with our youth. But the nail benders at breakfast would encourage, because we were there to build a group home for foster kids that are lost and broken and don't have anybody to take them in. So they really encouraged the youth to get up and give a testimony. And as some of you may know, some of our youth are adopted or was in the foster system, or just have a little bit of troubled backgrounds. And this really set the platform to help them open up. And like BJ said, I don't know how it goes for other youth that come. I really think it's up to their leader on how they spend their free time. But like he said, Ashton said, he loved that we sat down and did devotions and testimonies every night. And it encouraged him to want to share his story. And I'm telling you, his story was rough. No child should ever endure what he went through. And I won't share it because it's not mine to share. But man, there wasn't a dry eye that night when he shared his testimony. And so so we had to divide and conquer on Thursday. Pam, there was some that wanted to stay behind because they felt like they hadn't been to the job site and that was their favorite part. And then we also was given the opportunity by the lady that ran the Sunshine Children's Homes. Sunrise Children's Homes. And she stood up and gave a testimony about why we were there. And she invited anyone that wanted to come to one of their homes and see the kids to come. So Ellie actually made that connection with her. And so she was talking to our group through Ellie. But we ended up, so Pam's like, we've got to divide and conquer tomorrow. And I was like, I'll gladly load up whoever wants to go, and we'll go to one of those homes. It was an hour and a half away. So we did. And man, let me tell you, we went and seen, it was all boys, but they let us play with the 7th through 12th grade boys. And not 7th through 12th grade, 7 through 12-year-old boys. And there was youth boys there too, but they were split away from us, and they were in the pool. So we just got to hang out with the little kids, and the girls were so good about just finding kids and setting and playing with them. But so there was a little guy that clung to Gunner. His name was Justin. I'm sure I can share that, and it's okay. We will actually see one of his pictures up here of him hugging a little boy that has a heart to protect him. He loved Gunner. They clung to each other and played the whole hour we were there. And they were like little besties instantly. And Emma actually come over to me and she's like, Mom, why are there no girls here? And I said, well, honey, I said, you know that if you mix boys and girls together sometimes, it gets a little risky. And she goes, you're right. But so Emma didn't enjoy it as much, but Gunner, and when it was time for us, so it was such a blessing. It was heartbreaking, but it was amazing to see full circle what we were there to help do. And it was all for the kids that are, lost and broken and don't have anywhere else to go. One kid shared with us that his mom died and his dad didn't want him. Another kid shared that his parents just abandoned him and turned him over. But Gunner, when we went to leave, his little friend Justin said, will you please come back tomorrow? And I said, well, honey, we can't come back tomorrow, but I can promise you one thing. We will be praying for all of you, and that God helps you guys in your situation, whatever his will may be. And I said, is that okay? And he goes, yeah. And before we could leave, he hugged Gunner 3 times and was hollering, bye, Gunner. And I mean, that alone, if I could have just scooped that little one up and brought him home with me, I would have. But, and then when we had some moments with some of the youth, and some of them that was really facing some hardships mentally, and so we just had all these moments and then all these testimonies, and it hit me. And then like Dalton came back. Oops, I just mentioned his name. So sorry. But he came back and stayed with us, and he was wonderful after that. You could tell he just wanted to be loved and accepted, even when he wasn't being so good. But heck, I mean, there's days that I'm not so nice either. So, I mean, we're all sinners. But the full circle, driving home, I looked at Kara and I said, you know what? I think we were there for the kids this year. We were truly there for the youth and the kids that was all there with us. That was why God took us out there. He took us however many 1,800 miles round trip, but it was truly for the kids and the youth. We were there to build a home for them, and it helped our kids. I seen so much growth in their faith with this group right here, and oh man, it was good. I can reflect, and I have no regrets. Actually, I do have regrets. I regret not taking my 2 youth, and the last night, following a very huge testimony, they asked if there was anyone else that wanted to give their testimony. And they looked at me, and I said, I'm not ready. For one, I wasn't. It was such a long, exhausting day. But for 2, I thought that night it wasn't about me. It was about the youth. And I wasn't about to follow Ashton's testimony. But I'll share my testimony when the time's right. And something did come over me and tell me now, but I didn't do it. And I know where I lie in that. I will face God for that, for not sharing my testimony. In that moment, I didn't feel like it was the right time. And I definitely didn't want to follow Ashton or try to make a better testimony than his. I just didn't feel like the time was right. So that's what I got out of it. And man, what a huge blessing, because I truly do love kids. And the fact that it was all about them, and that's why we were there, I'm okay with that. Sorry, I'm long-winded.
One of my favorite parts about this year's missions trip was going to the Ronald McDonald House and feeding the families there. It was just a really good experience. We got to cook food for a whole bunch of people, and the food was good. And yeah.
Oh.
It was because she cooked it.
I just cut strawberries.
Oh. Okay, so Raylan took half of mine.
Sorry. You can share it because your perspective would be different than mine.
But so we went to a foster home, and most of the time, me and this girl Mariana, we sat on the hill with this kid named Tony, and we were talking to him. And I went up there because Raylan was up there, and we were talking to him, and we kind of like asked him like what it was like here, like at the place. And so basically, he told us that he had a home pass like once a month, and you get them after you stay there ever so long. And he had one in a couple days, and we asked him like, oh, are you gonna go see your mom? And he's like, no, my parents abandoned me. And I almost cried on that hill because I felt so sorry for him. But he told us that like a lot of the boys didn't get along there, and that it was just, I don't know, he really wanted to go home, but he couldn't have been adopted right then and there because of some of his behavioral issues. But he was so calm, and he kind of stayed away from everybody, and he was just, I don't know, you could tell that he had been through a lot, and you couldn't help but feel so sorry for him just sitting there. And I don't know, so yeah.
From last year's missions trip to this year's missions trip, it was a totally different atmosphere. Going from working on the job site 24/7 to not being on the job site but once or twice that week, it was a big difference, but we still had a huge impact in the community. Going to the Ronald McDonald House and going to the Sunrise Children's Home showed us the true reason why we were there and what the bigger picture was going to be after we left.
I've never been on a missions trip, and to be honest, I was not gonna go. I was not feeling it. I was like, I don't know half of these people. I'm not good with new people. I will shut down all my emotions. Well, Miss Savage was like, you should really go. And then Jessica calls me into the living room, and she was like, do you want to go? I was like, well, I've never been on one of these. I was like, maybe I should. Like, I want a big spiritual awakening, and that's what I got. We were back there up there for the missions trip thing, and she goes, does anybody like have a song? And I got up and I yelled Soul on Fire, and I don't know why that song came to my mind. I don't listen to that song often at all. But we got to the thing, and one night we were doing devotions, and I wrote down some of my stuff for the devotion, and Soul on Fire was in it. And my thing went with Lily's thing, and then with Corey's thing, and then I got goosebumps. I was like, I'm having a spiritual attack right now. And then I heard something tell me, you're not supposed to be here. And then I started bawling my eyes out. I was having a crazy spiritual battle that night. And then Raylan looks at me and she goes, don't let him get in your head. She was like, it's not, you're okay, I promise. I about turned all of my emotions off. I gave my phone to Miss Savage. I was like, don't let me have it for the rest of the trip. I don't want it. And then I went outside, played for a little bit. Pastor Chris calls me in, and he was like, we had a long conversation about some of my past. And then me and Raylyn realized we are alike. From her past, from her childhood and stuff she's experienced, me and her are alike. Well, it really helped that night. We prayed long and hard. And I think it was like the next day I wrote down this Bible verse, and everybody was being loud in the van and noisy, and I sat down and I opened my notes and I wrote down this Bible verse. And again, we went to devotions, and this guy, he wrote down the same thing in his book, and he said it too. And then Miss Savage was like, Ellie wrote down the same thing. And then Raylyn, I looked at Raylyn, and Raylyn's face lit up like she was shocked. And I was shocked. It was scary. And then there was another night, Miss Savage was like, we were all talking about testimonies. I was like, when should I give mine? Like, should I give mine? She was like, give it right now. And I was like, well, I'm not ready for this. Well, I put together little bits and pieces of it. And then that night, me and Allie stayed up all night writing our testimonies. I don't regret staying up all night writing them. I stood up, wrote my testimony, and me and Maya, we did not talk very much before this missions trip. Well, she was right in the beginning, like in the middle of writing her testimony and stuff. We went into the breakfast that morning, and I was so nervous. I was shaking. I didn't look up from my phone when I said it. I was on the verge of crying. I called Maya up because there was a lot of people there, and coming out of my comfort zone I am not good at. I called Maya up. I was like, Maya, I need you to stand by me. I was like, I'm scared. And she stood by me, and then she stood behind me, and I felt safe. I was like, okay, I'm good. And I said it, and it really, I could tell it touched some people. And then this Stacy lady with the sunrise thing, she was talking about how we should all go and see little children and stuff, and I came out of my comfort zone for the first time that trip. I was like, I feel like some of us we've been in homes and stuff, like me and Maya, we've been through it. I was like, I bet she wants to go. So I went up there. I was like, is there a chance you could take our whole group, the people that want to go? And she was like, yeah, of course. We went. That was really, really fun. Looking at the little kids, you could not tell what they had been through. It was terrible when they told you what they had been through. Well, I offered to pray a few times at the dinner table when we were eating at Chili's, I think. I offered to pray there, and I prayed. We were in devotions. I offered to pray. I don't ever offer to pray at all. There was a lot of spiritual awakenings and stuff for me. It was crazy. I was so shocked of what was going on. I was getting closer to this youth. And then I prayed so much through that whole thing, and I've been so consistent with my praying. I can feel that God's getting closer to me. Well, and then I met Ashton. Ashton gave his testimony. Okay, Ashton's is going to make me cry because because like he's helped me a lot. Like he came up to me and he was like, "I'm proud of you," and then he gave his testimony. Yeah, he gave his, and I was so shocked. And he came up to me in tears, and he was like, "I'm proud of you." And then we started talking about our stuff, and it was very heartbreaking of what both of us have been through. And he still checks up on me to ask me if I'm okay, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay." I was like, "Thanks for checking up on me." And he's a very, very good guy. Like he's very like mature, and like for his age, you cannot tell what he's been through, but I'm honestly so proud of him for overcoming the things that he doesn't talk about and trusting people like I have. But talking to Ashton has really, really, really helped. And with Ashton, like just talking to him for a little bit helped me grow in my faith even more.
The nail benders would always have at breakfast a devotion, and they would ask for somebody to give a devotion, and a couple of ours did volunteer to do the devotion one morning, and Ellie was one of them. Matter of fact, that was Tuesday morning. Well, that day, after she gave her testimony, the nail benders and some of our adults went out to do the work that could be done out there at the job site. And when they come back, I believe it was the next day or it was that night, but Mac, the leader of this week, he said that all of our nail benders, after Ellie gave her testimony, and after hearing some of the other people talking about these foster kids, he said the nail benders at that point was all fired up about working on this job, because it put into perspective what these two houses was all about. He said at that moment, he said up until then, he said we were just kind of, it's just another job type of situation, and there was not really a whole lot of motivation. But after hearing the two of ours that spoke, it just put it in perspective, and they were fired up, and they were getting at it, and they were as excited and just loving our youth. So you should be proud of your youth, that not only was it for one another, for the children, and for the other group, but it was also for the nail benders that we went. All right, Leah.
My favorite part was the devotion time and hearing people's testimonies and how God is working in people's lives.
I definitely think I learned a lot from this mission trip. I know me and Leah also didn't really want to go, just because we didn't think that a whole lot of people were going this year and a lot of people were backing out. But I'm really glad that we did go. We thought about it and we were like, it doesn't matter the people that are going, it matters that we're going to go somewhere and spread the gospel. And so we went, and it was really fun. We got to meet a lot of new people and hear some really good testimonies. And I think my favorite part was going to the groundbreaking ceremony and hearing how God put it all together, and how this lady just gave all this land up, like her family land, so people could put these houses on there for these troubled teens and all these foster kids that are going to live there. Yeah.
Okay, I think my favorite part was going to the Ronald McDonald House and cooking the food. And, I shared my testimony about all the stuff that I had been through and how it made me closer to God. And if it wasn't for Ellie, I would have not done that. She helped me, realize, it doesn't matter what people think. It matters what God thinks. And, yeah.
My favorite part about the mission trip was when we went to see the kids there was this, like, as soon as we pulled up, I seen this little boy. It was the first boy that I seen because he was at the far back of the basketball court, like, drawing with chalk by himself. And I was like, okay, as soon as we park this van, I'm going to go to that little boy. And so as soon as we parked the van, I started walking to the little boy. And I just got a piece of chalk, and I started walking up to him, and I was like, what are you drawing? And he was like, I'm drawing the Sunrise Building. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then the lady told us that she told him to draw, like roads in his city and stuff. And then I was like, what do you want me to draw? And he said, I don't want you to draw any of this because you're going to mess it up. And I was like, oh, okay, I won't mess it up. And then he was like, you can just draw something else over there. And I was like, okay. And so I just sat down, and I started drawing, like, a mall, and I had, like, the building traced out, and then I had, like, sections cut up, and I made one, like, and me and Ellie were drawing together. She had came over and then started drawing with us, and I had to draw, like, the ice cream shop and then the candy. She drew the candy shop, and I drew the toy shop and the clothes, and he came over, he said, can I help you with this? And I was like, yeah, you can draw with me. And then he said that he wanted to make a music store. So he started drawing the music store, and he asked me, he was like, and I'm dyslexic, and I have no idea how to spell hardly anything. And he was like, how do you spell this? And I was like, Ellie, I don't know. And then, so we were both trying to figure out how to spell stuff because he's a little boy and I'm dyslexic, so we didn't know. And then the whole time we were drawing together, he kept telling me stories about his mom. And I was, like, telling him stories about my parents and stuff, like the good stuff. And we just, like, got connected to each other. And then we started, like, playing tag and hide and seek because the chalk got boring, obviously. And then when we were leaving, he told me that, like, in the beginning he told me that his name was Carson with the K. And the K was because his mom told him that he was a king. And I told him that you are a king, and to never forget that. And then at the end, I gave him a hug, and I almost started crying, but I had to keep it together so he didn't see that I was crying. And then we were going to the van. Raylan told me that lady told Raylan that his mom had passed away, and his dad didn't want him, so he had to go to that place. And that just hit me so hard because he was telling me stories about his mom the whole time, and that was just really, really hard. And then I did give my testimony in the morning. I was supposed to give it the day that Ellie gave hers, but he got us mixed up, so she took my day. But that's okay. And so she went first, and me and Ellie, like, we knew each other a little bit because of Corey. We were like acquaintances, but we weren't close. But on the mission trip, Ellie just, like, clung to me and would follow me around everywhere, and and so I just, like, took her because she acts like Allie, and Allie's like my little companion. So Ellie was just always around me. And then when she was giving her testimony, like, before she gave her testimony, she was, like, scared and she didn't know how to write it. And so I let her read my testimony. And so she read my testimony, and then she wrote hers. And then so when she was giving her testimony, she was like, Maya, come up here. And so I went up there with her, and I just stood behind her and made sure, like, nobody was going to make fun of her or anything because, I'll beat them up. And then so the next day I gave my testimony, and it was really, really hard, and because I never told my full story before, and I never told Uncle Sonny, I never told Aunt Tap, I never told any counselors because I didn't trust anybody. But, like, being so far away from home and knowing that they're not going to tell anybody when we get home because there's so much other stuff to tell, I just told it all. Not all of it, but, like, most of it. And it was really hard, but, like, God was there with me the whole time, and my family was there. And I just stood right in front of everybody and just talked to them because I was not about to talk to everybody else. So I was just talking to them. And then afterwards, so many, like, men came up to me and gave me hugs, and they were like, you moved me so much, and you helped me so much, and you made me realize, like, how hard it can be, and that helped too. And then when we went to the Ronald McDonald House, there was so many, like, there wasn't so many because there was, like, 3 families that came, but we had cooked so much food, like 3 pots of food and a bunch of, like, cakes, and there was only, like, 3 families that ate, and I was like, what? Why would we cook all this food? And then they were talking about how the families will come back to the hospital and then just eat the leftovers and stuff. because it was a small Ronald McDonald House, but we're used to like cooking a bunch of food, especially my family. So we just cooked a bunch of food, and there was not a lot of people there, but it helped to know that like God has a purpose for us to cook all that food because there's people coming back that were already at the hospitals. So.
This is a truly unique year, a year unlike anything I've ever experienced since I've started going. My family and I did foster care for 5 long years, some of the best years of my life. Got kids all over the country. Figure we got close to 20 kids that we count as our own. I've been waiting to go on this trip for 3 years, y'all. 3 long years, and because it was a burden on my heart. And when we got there, I figured, yeah, we're going to go build these houses. And a couple weeks before we left, Matt calls me up and he says, Sonny, they have really dropped the ball on this over there. We ain't got footings poured for even one house yet. And we're going to have over 100 people and not enough work for everybody. He said, so this is what we're going to do. I said, okay. He says, you've got mowing experience, don't you? I sure do. And so for 2 days we mowed and weed-eated. These kids didn't complain once about how hot it was, or that they had to pick up sticks or trash. You know, they really put their effort in. I was impressed. Remember the first year that we were getting ready to go on the mission trip, T.B. Smith taught us the classes. And rule number 1 was be flexible. We all learned that this week. Being flexible had to be a given because you didn't know what you was going to do from day to day. I made it to the job site one day and it was Thursday, the day before we left. And I think you all have heard the most powerful time was our devotion time. I've seen kids that would hardly never speak or was so scared standing in front of a crowd and could hardly get a word out, come out of their shells and tell stories about their experiences that horrify me. I don't know if I could ever live the life they did. Ashton's testimony probably hit me the most besides my own girls. I love you girls. Thank you for stepping out. You make a daddy proud. Thank you, Jeff. Everybody complimented my kids on how polite, and this whole group. I can't just say my kids, our whole group. Of how much they have come out of their comfort zone to start sharing their faith with other people. I sometimes question myself, am I doing the right thing? Am I a good father? Am I teaching them the things they need to know? This week proved that I think I'm on the right track. Thanks for letting us go. Thanks for praying for us. Your prayers were felt a long ways away.
My favorite part was meeting this kid named Isaac. We met on the first day. We didn't really talk much, but on the first day, we saw each other. We were friends at first sight. We didn't talk much at first. We more or less just walked together, so So by the second day, we started to get to know each other. We started talking a lot. That one's kind of. So by the second day, we started talking a lot, and we weed eated and we mowed. So by that time, we started walking, started talking, and yeah, that was my favorite part of that whole week.
Be flexible because of the jobs. Monday we get up and it's like they're going to have a groundbreaking ceremony, and we want everybody to go that has a. He said, "I want to see these kids go because they've never seen it." How many was that your first time to be seeing at a groundbreaking ceremony? First time they got to see that, and it was an awesome time to hear about the history of Sunrise, which was the Kentucky Baptist Children's Home. They had to change their name to support legalities or stuff like that. But they get to hear the story and find out what the purpose for these two buildings are. And Max says there's not a whole lot of work we want to try to get these kids to do yard work. And we went back to the camp, did the yard work, and we got a good portion of it done. Tuesday come up. He says we got a little bit of work that needs to be done, and kids got out there and started working. We cleaned up a little bit around the job site, trash. You know, guys, when they work, they tend to be messy when they work. They just throw it on the floor. That's what we kind of did, and so they had an opportunity to that. And each night, like I said, we did devotions, and Monday night is when the devil was starting to attack. Right off the bat, you all heard them say we didn't know exactly why we were here. We found out real quick. We were all here for one another, and we needed one another. And giving the testimonies and starting one, as Ellie had said earlier, she gave one, and then another one was just related to the same thing. Another one gave one, and they didn't plan it out. So pointing it out, as pastors do, is like, well, you know, God orchestrated that.
Yes.
God orchestrated what we needed that week. And everybody needed it. And it was just prevalent. Everybody was aware. You could be aware. It was just something moving. The devil started working. God started working. And then Tuesday night we give opportunity. It did it again. God started showing up in our devotions. I'm just excited about our youth and the faith that they're doing and the growth that they're doing in their faith. And this just solidified and built even more foundation. Come Wednesday morning was a different story. We had stories that the weather was going to be rainy, and we couldn't going to be doing a whole lot. Matter of fact, the nail benders even said that they're not going to go out there to the job site because it's going to be raining so much. However, there was a few that did go out there. Just their testimony about what that entailed was that it would rain and stop, and just about the time the sun come out, dry everything out, it'd start raining again. So they didn't get a whole lot done, but we decided, since there was a lot of rain in the forecast, we would take the kids to a special day. We went to the aquarium there in Newport, Kentucky. And so we got to see the aquarium, spend time out there, see by the river, and it was awesome. Time to just look at fish and things like that. Is that y'all's first time? How many's first time to the aquarium like that? So it was just an awesome special day. We got back. It was fun. We got back, and we had more devotion time and more of the same type of God-moving type of devotions. I believe Jordan from Jacob's Well said he wanted to give he was the youth leader for Jacob's Well, and he gave his devotion. It was just very powerful, and is one that not a dry on a house, but the devil continued to work after the devotions, and for the first 3 nights, I spent my time before I would go to bed counseling with our students or any other students, and I'm exhausted from that. And so I would get to bed at 12 o'clock almost each night, and then had to get up at 5:45, which for me means I got 2 hours of sleep because I toss and turn anyways. And then I'm wondering, did I counsel the right things? Did I say the right things to encourage those I was counseling with? Thursday, we got to go back out there to the job site. That's when we divided and conquered. We sent one group to Ronald McDonald House, and then we sent another group to. Well, we all went to Ronald. No, I'm sorry. We sent a group to the children's home, and then we sent cookies to the EMTs of the area. So that they made cookies the night before and sent them out there, and then they got together and went to the Ronald McDonald House. So, as we said, the job was behind, and so we were having to be flexible and finding out, will God open doors of opportunity for these mission opportunities to do these things? Whether we was cutting grass, going to the job site, and just doing little things here, cleaning up the bathrooms on the campus, going to the children's home, going to the police department, the firehouse. And then going to the Ronald McDonald's. God opened. Oh, we went on Tuesday. We went and cleaned up 3 parks in the city, picking up trash, and that was awesome. They didn't complain, not one bit. But God said, "You're not going to do this building, but I have some stuff for you." Each and everything we had opportunity to meet people. On one of the parks that we stopped at, there were workers there that were resting from about lunchtime, and they were like, "What are y'all doing out here?" I mean, they were parks and recreation people, and we're just here to help clean up your park. And they say, "Oh, that's so awesome. What else are y'all?" "Well, we're here with the nail benders." So we had an opportunity to tell them nail benders. What's nail benders? And well, it's a Christ-centered operation that we get to tell people and build churches and things like that. And so they were impressed. On that same day, we had to stop and go to the restroom. Several of the girls was like, we got to pee. So we had to stop. So we stopped at this gas station, and before I could go into the restroom, this one gentleman, him and another one was sitting outside there on the step. He said, well, he saw the 2 vans, and we saw us all coming out. I believe we had all our blue shirts on. And he's like, "What is this? Some kind of vacation Bible school or a church camp type of situation?" It's like, "No, we're with the nail benders, and we're down here in Winchester building children's home." The gentleman that was talking to me said, "Children's home? Is that like foster care systems?" Like, yeah. He said, "You know what? I was a product of the foster care." And he said, I was placed there because my parents didn't want me. And he got to talking. He said the city funded or state funded system is totally corrupt. He said, I would tell the people to get any kids out of the state funded foster system because it's corrupt. I was like, "Well, brother," I said, we're building for Sunrise. Thank you. We're building for this children's home that is a Christian base, and it's all about taking care about the children and teaching them about Christ and teaching them that they are loved." And he's like, "I wish I had that."
It's nonprofit.
And it's nonprofit. I told him that, and he said, "I wish I was a part of that. That would be something I want." He said, "Because I was in that corrupt system," he said, "I am still in a system today. I'm part of changed lives." He said, I still have a bad history, a bad record, and I just wished I had somebody to point me in the right direction." I was like, "Look, let me just pray for you." It was an opportunity. It was for everyone. Even I got something out of it. I mean, I always get stuff out of everything that I do, but This one was just more prevalent. As I said, God is moving. God was moving in our, and that I don't know if y'all seen it in Facebook. I posted Tuesday night, pray for our youth because the devil is after our youth. This was what it was about, because a lot of us at some point was like, we don't know why we're here. God showed us why we were here. It was very awesome. So thank you. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for allowing us to go to this trip. And thank you for encouraging us to go on this trip.
Something I realized, Brother Chris, I mean, I knew like the devil attacks the weak-minded, but boy, does he really prey, devil, evil, really prey on our youth. I realize that because they're so impressionable and easy to manipulate. And I saw it. I was like, wow, like, this is who he's going after. He's getting to them before, like, we're working hard to help the ones that are in our church, but he's going just as hard, I promise. I've seen it. And I can't even imagine what he's doing to the ones that don't have a Christian base or a church home. So definitely be praying for our youth and our children, because that's the ones he's manipulating and going after probably the hardest.
Especially on this trip.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I feel like it's everywhere, though. So, but I really just, he revealed itself on this trip.
All right, we're going to open the floor up to Q&A. Mr. Jennifer's got a question or something.
In all this too, when you guys went to Lexington, nobody said that, and went to the Ford dealership and got to see one of the boys
From the ranch, yeah.
that was here at our boys ranch, and now he's up there working, and, getting to see him, I mean, or him seeing, some of you that he knows, that in itself too was, I'm sure it helped him out, and, just, seeing faces that he knew, and, hey, they come here to see me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there was a lot of that little stuff that we left out. It's just there was so much all the time. Even though there wasn't work for us to do at the job site that we could do as like women and youth, there like we were finding stuff to do. There's little things like the Pam's group she took to the job site and baked cookies. And then once we reunited after we went to the Sunrise Home Services home, we got together and we all left out, headed towards the McDonald house, but early. And they were handing out, as a group of youth, handing out cookies. And when our youth got back, some of our youth took over baking cookies. So it was just, there's so much that little things here and there that we are leaving out. But yes, you're absolutely right. It was neat for, I'm sure, him to see familiar faces.
Any questions y'all got for us? Any questions? All right.
And I mean, the trip was spiritually moved and stuff, but it was also really, really good and funny, and there was a whole bunch of good stuff in there. Cause Sonny, he was pushing along and stuff, and Corey was on it, and then he kicked her off, and then he was like, "Ellie, you come do this," cause Jeffrey, he was weed eating, and then he ran to gas out and just cut it off. And then he kept on it, and he was like, "You wanna do this?" I was like, "I mean, I can," and then he was like, "Yeah, I'll just do it." And I was like, "Okay, just do it." And then
Let me tell you, some of these kids have done jobs that they have never done before. I let mine off this year.
Rocked it.
Jeff weed eated it, Ellie weed eated it, Allie weed eated it.
Ellie fell.
Ellie fell, not one.
right after the other. Cause he was taking long. I was like, "You know what, Sonny, you're taking too long." Cause the weed eater was out of gas. I took it back
I
up
was
there.
constantly
Me and
filling
Lily-
up weed eaters.
Yeah. Yeah, we were being mechanics. Lily over here, she grabbed the gas. She's like, "All right, it's this one." She opens it. She puts it there. We were looking at Sonny. He's still minus on this as well. I was like, "He's minus, got him." We started up, and then he comes walking, and he goes.
Yeah.
Mowing is so much easier than he says it is. He's lying all the time. It is not hard. I mowed the whole baseball field and it looked perfect. You know how when you go to rich people's houses, it looks like mine? Mine was rich people's houses. But it looks so good. It is so much easier than he says. So if he ever tells you his job's hard, it's not hard. You get a free can, you get
So needless to say, we had a lot of fun as well as the spiritual moving. The thing about it is that is when you put your faith in God and you allow God to lead you, He's going to keep you busy. But here's the thing, that whenever you put your faith in God, there's joy and laughter, and you get to see all the little crazy things that might happen. So there was a lot of fun. Me and BJ, we had an incident where it was fun and scary all at the same time. we were riding along. I think it was the day we went to Buc-ee's. I think it was not BJ's fault. It was Wednesday night after supper, before the devotion. We went to Buc-ee's to give them another little treat. Buc-ee's is a great big gas station. If you don't know, it's got a big store and everything. And encourage you to go to one if you've never been. I like it. There's a lot of stuff to choose from. Nonetheless, we were on our way. It was still kind of raining. Me and BJ just talking along about something. I don't know what. And we was just talking. We were going, and it was raining, and it was coming up a stoplight. Well, it turned yellow like it was supposed to, and BJ, he saw it in time, and he hit the brakes just like he's supposed to. The thing about it is though he hit the brakes and the tires didn't grab. And so we started sliding, and the light turned red, and all of a sudden the tires start squealing, and before we got stopped, we were in the middle of the intersection. And so we had I was like, well, that just happened moment. So and we backed. And the good thing about it is that everybody else that was it was only a three-way stop. That one was stopped. That one stopped. They heard us squeal, and so they didn't move until we stopped. And thankfully, Matt Blum, who has been here but they're moved back. He was driving in behind us. He stopped enough to allow us to back up into the lane that we needed to be in. But we had a good laugh about that. It was an awesome week. We had a lot of fun. And again, we want to say thank you for allowing us to go. Thank you for going. And I believe God has blessed y'all for going. Anything else? One last thing. Anything else? Anybody got any questions or anything? All right. I encourage you, if you have an opportunity, to go on a mission trip. If you missed, we're going to be going on Nail Benders again next year. That's Dunlap, Tennessee.
As of right now, that could always change.
And that's true. God made it's part of being flexible. I'm still praying that it's still Dunlap, Tennessee, because that's just north of Chattanooga, Tennessee.
And only 2 hours away from Gatlinburg.
Just 2 hours away from Gatlinburg, and several things that can be possibly a part of that. But so if you encourage you to think about it, pray about it, ask God if it's possible for you to go, go. Don't say no. Don't doubt it. Just walk by faith. And that's what we've been talking about this evening. All right, let's do this. I'm going to have y'all go on all the way to the back doors. And we're going to stand and be dismissed. And as we're dismissed, y'all go through the line with them and thank them for their testimonies tonight. Brother Vernon, you want to dismiss us in a word of prayer, please?